welcome to Chris Parking Shooting Sports. I've been sent this by Sure Shot Air Guns. This is the AERON chassis stock, which they carry for quite a few different air guns and rimfire rifles. I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out, check out some of the options, because there's far too many to portray on screen. Now, they've sent me one out to use and to shoot. This one's inlet for a CZ457, which many of you will know I have and use quite a lot. I've actually got a couple of them now, but there we go. They do these for Virox, for Air Arms, for FX, and that gives you quite a few variables in depending whether you're a rimfire shooter or an airgun shooter. Now, in terms of the CZ, you can have it in a 452, 453, 455, 457 inlet, so you can pretty much bolt those straight in. Now, looking at some of the key features, it's all duralumin. You've got a nice inlaid front end. It's quite lightweight, but it's stiff. It's got a UIT rail on the bottom, and it actually comes with, I'll just take this bipod off actually, because it comes with a stud adapter, so you can put something like a Harris bipod straight on, as you can see that there, so that goes straight on. You can obviously use that UIT rail for other accessories. It doesn't have M-lock, or it doesn't have ARCA, but Sure Shot themselves carry a massive range of spares and accessories for these, so you can add ARCA and things like that to it. Now, the stock is actually made in a couple of, well, it's made in 3 sections mainly. So you've got a fore end, a centre section and a back end here. But they're all securely bolted together, and there's no mechanical interlocks or junctions where the action actually beds on. It comes with bedding screws to fit on, and obviously depending on what gun you have it for will depend on what the bedding system is like. But I've had the CZ457 in this, and I'm going to put it back in shortly and take it out shooting. It comes with the perfect length bolt screws for it, and actually if I take this grip base off here, as a Magpul grip here, I've actually put the screws in here so I won't lose them. So that one goes through the front there, and we've got that like that for the inlet. The rear one, you've got to just remove the grip, which is why the cap comes off the bottom. Long Allen key through the grip comes off, and then the rear action screw is available there. So that will fit that way. Now, you've got about 10 centimetres overall of length of pull adjustment. The stock overall weight is 1.8 kilograms, and of course the size is going to vary a little bit depending on how much length of pull you put on that. It's actually got a wooden cheek piece here, so it doesn't get cold, doesn't draw the heat out your face, and it's got a nice stippled finish on it. This one has got a really nice sort of tiger stripe finish. It's cerakoted, but you can have it anodized as well in different colours, and depends on what exactly you want. And then, of course, you've got all these screws here, all Allen screws here. You can move the cheek piece up and down. You can move the recoil pad up and down, length of pull adjustment. You can also change the length of pull angle as well. There's like a radius fitment here, so you can change the angle on that if that suits you. It's got a chunky recoil pad on it. It's quite curved. It's very deep, hard rubber, so it will grip well into your shoulder. So I'm going to put this on my 457 and I'm going to take it out shooting. Now, you can see the modularity of the stock in terms of where all the bits and pieces fit and finish together. Nothing's come loose so far. It's certainly all been supplied tight, and I suppose if you wanted to, you could remove any screws and bolts if you wanted once you got them set up and put them together with thread lock, which is going to do the make sure nothing moves forever. So let's put it together, go out shooting. So I've just taken my 457 out of its other stock, and I'm just going to put this back together now. I may or may not include this on the full video because YouTube don't really like this kind of thing, but we can give it a go, can't we? Put this back on. Now, this one is one of the early prototypes. I am told there has been a slight change because I did pick up something that you need to do on this one that you won't on the finished versions. Now, the inlet here, which you can see there, and there is a small screw here on the bottom of the 457 action, and on this one I do actually need to remove that screw. Oh, I don't need to take the magazine well off, but that actually then needs that off so it can fit into here, and it is a beautiful tight fit. So I'm just going to pop this upside down because I need to take the grip off as well to access the rear screw. So these are just regular Allen keys, no great issue at all there. Undo that, take the grip off, and I've got access now to the rear action screw. So once we've got that trigger guard off, we can just remove this trigger guard here, and that lifts off and allows access to the underside screw for the receiver. Just pop that off so we can see the action screw is in there. Put this on. Now, action screw torque can be one thing that some people will tune. On something like this, where I can feel there's no real bedding stress involved, I'm going to torque that down to 4 Newton meters. Do the back one as well. Now, I can't show the full assembly process because YouTube don't like things like that, but I'm going to put those in there with a torque wrench. That's like that now, so you can see perfect fit, finish, perfect room for the bolt, no problems with binding or anything like that. I'm just going to reassemble this now. Trigger guard goes back on there. And put the grip back on under here. Grips back on. Pop the magazine in, pop the base of the grip on. That goes back in there, and there we go, assembled and ready to go. I'll just put that screw back in the receiver of the CZ. Right, when I put it back together. So they have actually supplied me with a 20 MOA inclined Picatinny rail to go on this too, and the good thing about that is you'll notice it actually reaches forward a little bit. And one thing you will find with a lot of larger scopes for PRS, things like that, on smaller bolt action rifles like the CZ, is that you actually run out of space to get enough eye relief because the scopes are physically large. And if you look at that, that's placed all the way forwards pretty much as far as it will go. But you can see that this Picatinny rail, instead of the standard CZ one, has got a lot more reach forward on it. So that would sit on this rifle, comparatively speaking, about there. So it's going to give me about an extra 15mm of reach on the scope, which can be critical to getting correct eye relief. And it's also tall, deep, and it's stiff as well, so you're not going to get flexibility in it. It has a nice cutout too, which means that the brass is still going to eject without any kind of problem. Now, I'm not going to put this on just for now on this rifle. I've actually got another CZ which might go in this action long term with a 17 HMR barrel, and I will use this on that because I would need to swap the rings and everything like that. I need to go down to 30mm, and I'd probably want lower rings too because the rail itself adds some height. But you know, horses for courses, individual scenarios require slightly different scenarios. But that now is almost as I'm going to shoot it. I'm probably going to add a little bit to the cheek piece height, a little bit to the Picatinny rail, and a little bit to the cheek piece height, a little bit to the length of pull, and let's see how we get on shooting it. Well, I've been out shooting and it's a very pleasant chassis to use. Some people call them stock, some people call them chassis. I suppose this is a chassis because it's all aluminium apart from the wooden cheek piece, rubber recoil pad, you've got the rubber grip as well. So looking at it in a little bit more detail, now of course you've seen me, I've put a 457 LRP in it, which has of course got the heavy barrel and match chamber 20-inch barrel, but there is nothing to stop you adding a chassis like this to something Like for example, that's a 457 and that is the standard synthetic stock with a light short barrel as well. So you can put it in that, and I have actually had it in that too. Some people might say it doesn't really suit it in that respect, but you know, a lot of people want to hunt with a chassis rather than a super lightweight rifle like that. So you know, options are there. As I say, there are a lot of different inlets and you can have it for which gun you need it for, and of course there will be slight variations in that respect. So in terms of giving my opinion on it, right, the fore end, it's super stiff, super rigid, you've got no trouble at all, you know, any kind of bipod pressure, anything like that. The barrel is going to stay fully free floating in all conditions and circumstances. I went straight in at 50 metres just to check my zero and see if it had shifted at all. And to be fair, it was in the variation of the wind conditions on this day particularly, and the fact I couldn't necessarily remember which ammo I was using it with last time. Fundamentally what that means is the stock it's come from has got no bedding stress. This one it's gone into has also got no bedding stress. So in that respect, everything's fine, happy there. Now, the cheek piece, you've got plenty of vertical adjustment on it. You do need Allen keys for that, and that will just undo here, and you can put that up and down as much as you want. It does appear to, it's not got any lateral adjustment on it. Now if I flip this over, it's not got any lateral adjustment on it, but should you want to, you could possibly re-screw that in position if you prefer. And of course there are multiple screw holes here as well on the underside, so you could move that back and forward if you wanted to. I'm just going to pop that back down there, nip those back in position just so it's not moving around, and then while we've got it out here like this, length of pull adjustment uses the Allen keys here, or the Allen screws here. I'm just going to undo those two just to drop this back. So you've got adjustment like that there, and of course the two at the back end here, you can slacken those off as well, and because of the differential movement between the bars as well, if you want to get that, you've actually got a huge amount of variety in terms of where you can move that to suit you and your shooting style. I don't shoot PRS. Some people might say a chassis is only for PRS. I'm perhaps more of a precision rifle shooter. I like to shoot at distances, multiple distances. I like to play with the ballistics in that respect. And the chassis is very good for that because you can get a very comfortable position, and of course this adjustable cheek piece does allow you to make sure you've got excellent alignment on the scope. One thing I will say though is the cheek piece is quite broad. If I just put the measuring tape on here, that is, you know, it's 37 millimeters wide. It's got a radius top, it's very comfortable, but it does encourage a little bit more of a head roll than an absolute, you know, level-headed position under your cheekbone. So that's a little bit horses for courses. Some people prefer that, some people don't. It's not to my taste, but that's not to say you won't like it. Of course, it is wooden. If you wanted to make changes, you could do. And I would say that the truly customised rifle is the only other rifle that will fit you to your perfect standard. And if you see rifles, you know, with bits of padding and duct tape and things like that on, it generally means somebody's made it very comfortable for them personally, because nothing may be perhaps available that will actually adjust into the position exactly they want. And that's the way it used to be done when people went shooting, to actually test and experiment with things rather than just surfing the internet to see what's exactly the best one, which is going to shoot the smallest groups. Because it's not about the smallest groups, it's about which one works for you best and which one fits you and feels most comfortable. As I think you can see in the photographs, it really does pop out well, and the sunshine was bright today. Using it, you've got absolute stiffness in it, you've no problems with shifting zero, anything like that. And of course you don't get a huge amount of noise or resonance through the stock either, because it's a solid unit, you've got no hollow areas, and of course it's only a 2-2 rimfire, so no massive noise and vibration. I think it could perhaps also benefit from somewhere to screw a thumb rest on the side, because the grip is fairly bulky and it's hard to wrap your thumb completely over the top, and there isn't a thumb rest. And of course the thumb rest does give you faster bolt manipulation, allows you to get back on target, on the trigger, on the grip a little bit quicker, and there is no fitting here for one. But you know, you can add that maybe later, perhaps they'll modify that in the newer chassis. Should I want to, there's nothing to stop me putting a 17 HMR barrel on this rifle, and maybe long term I will do, because I have actually got a spare 17 HMR barrel for this 457 here, and that might be another option for me. But you know, set it up and choose exactly as you want it to do. The stock's been designed absolutely perfectly, so you get no problem with bolt travel or anything like that, and the safety catch is obviously still unrestricted and operable as normal. Couple of things I would say maybe are something you need to look at. It could do with a bag rider or butt hook at the back here. You can pin it into your shoulder, but it's all a bit sort of angular there and it's not super comfortable, and you might want to just add something there to customize a bit. Again, if you want to use a bag rider, you've nothing really here to ride a bag with or even to support other than the actual butt pad itself, and it's a little bit easier usually if you've got maybe a bit of a taper or just a larger flat spot, so you can manipulate the bag underneath it. The second thing I would say is, although it's got the UIT rail on the bottom and you can add accessories to that, it would be nice if it either had AERON machined within it or came with AERON as standard, because I think in this day and age people are going to want AERON on a chassis, and it doesn't seem a huge difference in the machining or billet size to have AERON rail machined as part of it. Downside of AERON is, you know, the clamp will mark you Cerakote, things like that, so it's not quite as attractive in that respect, but mechanically it's a pretty good thing to do. Actually, in terms of bipod fitting, that UIT attachment in there locks this Harris bipod solidly in position. There's no sliding or movement around, and you do sometimes find that with bipods with AERON fit, you can really tighten them up and they still tend to slide a little bit on the forend, especially when you've got Cerakote, which is a very hard finish and it doesn't really bite into. In that respect, sometimes I prefer a Picatinny fit for bipods, because even though it's smaller, you can't get any linear movement on a Picatinny rail. So there we go. I think this AERON chassis is a very nice unit. I think it does look superb and I particularly like this finish, but it comes in anodized colours too. Do click on the link, look at all the options, because nobody buys one of these and doesn't modify it, doesn't customise it. They will want it exactly to their specifications, and that is of course the joy of a chassis like this, because it can be customised. You can add all the accessories you want, bolt them in place, and you've got the stock you want to shoot the way you want it to. Right, I hope you've enjoyed the review. Please like, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell and keep track of the regular uploads. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.